Welcome back, everyone. I am a liar, and we are not going into round two quite yet. We do have just one more match to cover from round one. It is going to be DeadDraw versus Theseus, and we're going to go into, I believe, game number 3, but we'll see. But Sol, we are going to get ready here, and we do see a Druid band out from DeadDraw and the Warrior band from Theseus. But what have you made of this so far? We've not really had a chance to chat just about... Let's talk about just the submissions, right? Like the representation from all the classes and decks. We've seen Hunter actually take that top spot, which is a bit of a surprise, even though I did think it was going to be a popular choice.
Yeah, it is something close to what I expected. I think more people have dodged Priest than I expected, but I thought it was going to be a fairly even split between Priest lineups and targeting Priest lineups. But more people are smarter than I was giving them credit for, apparently, because there's far less people actually taking the Priest lineups than I would have predicted going into this. But yeah, it's a big reason why you're seeing Highlander Hunter, for example, being one of the most popular decks, because it has a strong matchup against Priest, it has a strong matchup against Quest Warlock, which in itself has a strong matchup against Priest, so is likely to be a part of some people's lineups if they're going down that route. So when you start doing the matchup chart of things that you would be expecting to be bringing, Highlander Hunter does come out looking very, very good indeed.
Well, we are going into this game number 4 here. DeadDraw on the top on the Warrior and Theseus on this Warlock. And DeadDraw, the closest thing we have to a Grandmaster who isn't a Grandmaster, a lot of people would say. Just missing out in the previous Masters Tour. But honestly, Saul, and I'm sure you agree, if there's anyone I had to name who I would expect in the near future to become a Grandmaster, it is DeadDraw.
Yeah, especially with the slight change in the system where Grandmaster's qualification is now done over a rolling 6 tournament season as opposed to just the 3. So essentially, the enormous amount of prize money that DeadDraw has that would have qualified him to be a GM in any other region by like 2 or 3 times over in some cases, but wasn't enough to qualify him in Europe, he still has that to his name, which he can now build on for these next coming Masters Tours. So he is already in a pretty solid position.
Yeah, and speaking of solid positions here, it's got a good start against Theseus' Warlock with this Terran going down on the egg. Means that he has a couple of layers of security, but Theseus just does have this Dark Skies and the Moargs along with a Nether Breath, so there is plenty of removal on his end too.
There is, but I do like the fact that DeadDraw has gone Death Rattles here nice and early, because that is the big problem for Quest Warlock to be able to deal with. Reborn minions, Death Rattles, anything that can create layers of threats, they don't deal with that kind of stuff particularly well. So DeadDraw does have some resilience here.
Yeah, this is looking pretty aggressive as well, just this Corcoran to go face. I like it a lot from DeadDraw, actually. Suddenly, Theseus is on 17 and can't do all of the good things, right? Like he can't clear the board and heal. He can't really get these Moargs down and get any massive value from them because of this Terran.
Yeah, so Theseus has to start putting together 2 turn clears, I guess, trying to pick it apart, or just, heal up, remove what he can, and just march on with his game plan and ignore some of the board state, which is a possibility as well. He does have an enormous amount of healing at his disposal, and he can start curving into big minions of his own with the Abyssal Summoners over the coming turns. But yeah, this is what's kind of leaning towards the 2-turn clear option.
Yeah. I was looking at Moarg, Coil the Terran, and Nether Breath the Corcoran.
Okay.
As an in-between, because the Moarg's still down. The Moarg would be facing down effectively this board plus the 3-4. So it's still a threatening board, but he would have healed for 8 as well, and he would have a 2-4 there. So, I don't know, different ways to go about it, but I think that's just this plot twist Warlock summed up, isn't it? That there's so many different little routes you can do to set up either clears, some heals, some kind of a board presence as well.
Right. And I do think your play has some merit to it. It gets more cards out of hand, it spends more mana. I think you can see Theseus has some problems with the way that he's played his turn, because he didn't get to tap, yet he floated 2 mana. He didn't really get cards out of his hand to solve that problem in the future either. So I think that is a big alarm bell that perhaps you've done something wrong with your turn if you're floating mana at the end there and not pressing life tap and not progressing towards quest completion.
And for me, I felt like the order of him doing the Dark Skies last turn made this turn harder, whereas I think you have the rough turn on the turn you would coil, and then use Dark Skies to clean up with the second Moag afterwards. Bear in mind, though, although this looks a little bit rough, now there's a 9/9 taunt down for Theseus, and he does have double Moag Nether Breath, which is an absurd amount of healing to boost him pretty much all the way back up to full. So, although this looks very rough for him, he is in a still a pretty secure position.
The problem, however, is this giant battle rage he's about to get faced with on the opposing side. Because with usage of the coin as well, he can get the double proc he needs off of the Risky Skipper to be able to fully trade through the 9/7 on board. So he gets a full clear while developing his board, while drawing 6 cards. This is Patron Warrior levels of illegal.
Oh, and the Blood Bowl Brute, why not? Yeah, this is the real reason Warrior's powerful. I think a lot of people look at, the whole like Blood Swan Mercenary cards, the Corsair Cash, which again is powerful, but just Battle Rage potential just ties the whole deck together, doesn't it? Those are the games you win the most, is when you get a good Battle Rage off.
Second breath now is huge because the first one almost certainly being used here. Theseus way too low to be messing around in this position. But DeadDraw now all the resources in the world to just go again.
Yeah, and he has the benefit, although there was heal, it wasn't the, we call it sort of like the Reno heal, right? It wasn't just a max heal back up to full, so now he can very easily pick off this Moag if he wants to, and start to just reduce down this health once again from Theseus. But with this big Battle Rage, what does Theseus actually need to do here to win this game? Because not only was there all the card draw, but there's so much armor now for DeadDraw. Like, can Theseus even piece together enough damage at this point?
Yeah, he needs to win the game as opposed to just not lose it at this point is the big difference. Because if the Warrior doesn't get a big Battle Rage off in this matchup, a lot of the time you can just survive and kind of, run them out of a few tools, and then eventually you win the board with Abyssal Summoners. Since that's not really an option, Theseus does have to end up with some game-winning plan. But honestly, in this matchup, it's often more... Excuse me? Hello?
Mystery card.
It's often more so Dragon Queen Alexstrasza than it is any big Malagos Burst combo because of all the armor generation that comes out on the other side. And Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, of course, is a card that's now been nerfed, so you can't have that explosive 1-turn, 3 massive dragons turn that you used to be able to have. On a more serious note, what on earth is happening? Why is there an upside down card in Theseus' hand?
If that question is aimed at me, Saul, I'm surprised because I don't have an answer.
Okay.
It just is.
Okay.
I guess we'll find out what it is shortly. There was the Caladan play just to kill off the Challenger, which again looked very a very lackluster usage of that card, but one that I think is required. Unlike the Bomb Warrior we were casting earlier on, there are rampages in this deck, and suddenly, having big, massive minions duplicate potentially with Blood Swan as well means that it's just going to get harder and harder for Theseus to clear up this board. And now, it's after Nether Breath number 2, but it's already worrying where this isn't really securing him the game. He's just making it continue, and that's pretty much his whole turn gone, and the board isn't even clear yet.
That is quest complete, though. The mystery card is back. What I really want to do is switch to DeadDraw's perspective and see if Theseus' hand is just all face down and that one's just face up, shining in DeadDraw's face. Hello, alright. Now there's potential. Suddenly, 47 damage starts to become achievable with regular Alexstrasza coming down and then a zero-cost Malagos alongside all the burn. However, Both Nether Breaths have now been used for healing, though, which cuts into the damage significantly. And Theseus is only playing one copy of Soulfire, so I actually think he still just doesn't get there in terms of just straight damage.
Does have Zephyrus, though.
It does.
It can help him out a lot, and he's getting there with only 10 cards left in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this mystery card, Sol, which frankly could be a 0-mana deal 100. I don't even
Could,
know.
yeah.
It is adding an awful lot of suspense to this game. I'm not going to lie, I'm excited.
I really want to know what's happening right now.
Double Rampage and an Inner Rage in hand, and the Corcron for DeadDraw means he's got access to all the damage he needs. He just needs the mana and time to play it here.
Uses the Rampage, but keeps hold of the Inner Rage. He's used both Risky Skippers already, I believe, so he needs that Inner Rage for an activator for his Bloodsworn Mercenaries, which I think he might still have 2 left of remaining in his deck. 2 left in 8 cards, so the Burst combo is going to come in big pretty soon. He has a 1 in 4 of drawing Bloodsworn on any given turn from this point.
And at this exact snapshot of the game, before this taunt comes down, it would just be lethal, right? Because it swings the weapon and then just does the Corcron, Inner Rage, Rampage, Bloodsworn combo, and that would just be game as quickly as that. The Ooze going to clear off the weapon, and of course the Abyssal Taunt in the way is going to put a stop to that. But DeadDraw just keep putting those threats down, and as these decks get thinner and thinner, well, Theseus and DeadDraw will both know each other, you know, like what's kind of capable of their opponent, right? You'll know that there's been no Rampage, there's still one Rampage, sorry, in the Inner Rage left.
Henchclan Burglar could be potentially huge here. Okay. Chaos Strike alongside the Rush Lackey. Does that then allow more damage to go face from the Bomb Wrangler? I think it might do, right? Livewire Lance, Chaos Strike, Goblin Lackey.
Mm-hmm.
Existing minions on board go face. Could even trade and get bomb value, honestly. It's not the most ridiculous thing. He's going to save the Chaos Strike, trade the 1. Yeah, okay, this makes sense. Because this way, if you trade your 1-2 in, but because you didn't spend the 2 on the Chaos Strike, you get to Rampage immediately and push the 8. So I think this is actually a more efficient... Sorry, okay, forget everything. What's happening?
Someone wants to make our casting more difficult.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. I will say, though, as well, I do like this because the Chaos Strike can get him deeper into Bloodsworn, and he can still go Chaos Strike, Corcron, Inner Rage, Bloodsworn, right? So he can still do the big combo damage, and he has a bit more of a chance to draw into it in the following turns.
Right. Also, you know, with Caladan used, and with both Nether Breaths used, and both Moargs used, how does this giant Bomb Wrangler get dealt with, right? Because it's only small incremental damage in terms of removal from right now, apart from Twisting Nether, which, you know, Twisting Nether really is just killing 1 minion here.
Yeah, honestly, unless it was from the hero power, Twisting Nether is almost a victory for DeadDraw, right? Because of just the mana usage, right? It's the whole turn. Whereas if it was 0, then that's when you've got to worry, because there's the Twisting Nether plus development.
I'm curious about whether should have been a 0-mana 4/12 on board on multiple occasions this game. Oh, Grommash off the top, double Inner Rage, meaning it's going to just go straight through for 14 damage, and the 4 from the Chaos Strike weapon is going to end the game. But yeah, as I was talking about, like, I don't necessarily think he even gets there with the Malagos plan from where he is. He has chipped away some of that armor, which is nice, sure. Right. But maybe just the tool on board of the 0-cost 4/12 would have actually ended up doing more from him in that game state. But yeah, I really do like the way that DeadDraw set it up in the late game, because actually both Grom and Bloodsworn Mercenary off the top was still lethal, even though he expended the Rampage. He banked that Rampage damage. He didn't get to duplicate it with a Bloodsworn Mercenary, but even then, if he draws Bloodsworn Mercenary, the one extra damage from the Rush Lackey alongside the Chaos Strike that he did end up using still would have been lethal, and then you saw the combination that ended up being lethal with the Grom left. So with, what, 7 cards left in his deck, 6 cards left in his deck, 3 of them were lethal with the setup that he had, and that's if his board got fully removed in that scenario as well.
Yeah, and I do appreciate what you're saying about the Malygos as well for that last turn for Theseus, because the only real way the Malygos dies is if, like, Grom goes into it, right, with a buff.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, well, okay, because then it's not going face, and then there's still Alexstrasza, there's still, Zephyrus potential to, extend and win the late game. So maybe that should have just been on the board a little bit sooner. But we are striding straight into our last game of this series between DeadDraw and Theseus. It's going to be the Hunter on the top versus this Quest Warlock once again. And just double checking, it is the Highlander Hunter there, and DeadDraw is one of the players who has cut Dragon Queen Alexstrasza from his Hunter list.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think Highlander Hunter out of the Highlander decks is definitely the one that suffers the most with the nerf. I think you talked about it earlier, where this is the deck that curves out and then plays Dragon Queen on 9 to end the game, right? Like that's generally the purpose. That's just not really an option anymore. You're playing a 9-mana 8/8. It's a pretty miserable card immediately. So it might just be the case that you lose too much tempo, that you would rather just trim down the deck and just be more efficient in the early game as opposed to playing a slightly clunky card that's going to be too expensive.
Yeah, and I do think it is. I think Alexstrasza is still fine in Hunter, but I also think it very much depends on what you are using the Hunter for, right? What's the meta expectation? If you want to be a bit more aggressive due to X reasons, then that is I think it's very cuttable, because I think Highlander Hunter, there's a lot of cards you still want to include in that deck that you do have to make cuts for. So it's not like you're replacing Alexstrasza with a bad card. Right? Here, though, we do see the fantastic start here for DeadDraw, just having that Fairy Dragon down early, and then has plenty of backup with the Zixor or the Griffin, and then even just this Rotnest Drake is going to be nice, even if that's just played as a minion on curve, not even particularly sniping anything.
Bone Wraith being drawn, I think, is now his best option this turn. He doesn't really have any great tool to play around a full-hand Dark Skies from the opponent, but under-committing there isn't really an option either, because then you just get blown out by, like, Coin Crazed Netherwing, for example. So he had to play another minion that turn, so getting the Reborn effect off the top is actually perfect for DeadDraw in this scenario.
Also, as well, if Dark Skies comes down this turn, it is off curve, right? And it does require either a coin tap or something, I don't know, for it to be valuable. I guess worst case, Dark Skies Coil is the best turn that Theseus could have here.
Yeah.
Without utilizing the coin. You can argue whether using the coin actually makes the turn better or not.
Yeah, I do like this decision, though, just coin Netherwing to contest, but what did I say earlier? The times where you're scrambling a bit, you just feel like you have to just jam a minion to contest the board. Every time. Every time. It's a much better looking Dark Skies, though.
Yep. Nice follow-up. Going to have plenty of cards in hand for that Abyssal Summoner, but DeadDraw is also going to have, or does have, this Varanus available to him to just, as long as he has some kind of board, just on curve, just remove the taunt from the equation quite easily.
Right.
But without the weapon, without the spear, it does mean he does need to stick something. He needs something to stick around on board.
So you're going to hold on to the Corrosive Breath and just get Hero Power through instead, which is very efficient in terms of damage over time. Gets his 2 damage from the Hero Power this turn, still has the Corrosive Breath in hand for 3 damage at some point. And when your opponent's at 11 and you're threatening lethal with Zephyrus Corrosive Breath in hand, I think damage efficiency is checkbox number 1 for the Hunter player.
Alright, and this Zephyrus just opens up so many options and so many ways to play the game here. Because it's just so much extra damage. I think just Corrosive Breath and Zephyrus should be enough, right?
Yeah, Zeph Silence Hero Power. Yep. That is game for DeadDraw.
And what you've seen right there is one of the reasons many people are bringing Hunter to this tournament.
Yeah.
With the reads of what they're going to face, Hunter seems to be just positioned extremely well. And we're going to be seeing a lot more Hunter over the course of this weekend, and I couldn't be happier at that.
And dare I predict we might be seeing a lot more DeadDraw as well, because guess what? He's back on it again, picking up yet another win. It's only 1-0. Of course, he has a long way to go. But DeadDraw, of course, perhaps the most impressive performer, for me at least. You know, he hasn't won a Masters Tour, so in our order of merit, you know, he didn't gain enough prize money to gain entry to Grandmasters. But in terms of consistency, you know, I tweeted out his overall results in every Masters Tour. Apart from one, he has had an impressive performance overall. So every single time, with one exception, he's been up there right at the top of the leaderboards or within the top 32 going into the end of the final Swiss round. Multiple top 8s, multiple top 16s, and a top 32 as well under his belt. So for me, DeadDraw is the Masters Tour player, and no great surprise to see him kicking it off again with a 1-0 start here in Asia Pacific. Sorry, I was thinking for a second, what country are we supposed to be in?
Yeah,
and then I remember we
say,
didn't even get as far as like nominating a country for it. Masters Tour Asia Pacific.
Yeah, no, congratulations again to DeadDraw, kicking it off. And now I can no longer lie to you, because we have literally ran out of matches to cover here from round 1. We are ready to kick off round number 2, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Masters Tour Asia Pacific.